So I just wonder, what kind of narratives will they be coming up with this time in case they lose?
Don't think there won't be denialism if Kamala Harris loses, too.
It won't be the same.
Okay, but there's going to be. I mean, they're already laying the foundation for lawfare. We're going to be stuck in this election one way or the other, no matter who wins, for weeks.
Well, there's no evidence of that. Democrats have never done that. They've conceded.
We already had this fight on my show. Hillary Clinton is the original election denier. Stacey Abrams. Yes, she is.
It's different. Come on, man.
Right.
It's different between grumbling. Yes, they grumble and they shouldn't, and maybe it goes over the. It's different between grumbling about something and actually trying to overturn it, like he did. I mean, you know this. Why do we have to go through this?
That's fine. You're allowed to file legal challenges in response to an election, which is what Trump did, and he lost, and he did wind up leaving office. I'm not going to defend his behavior on January 6th. I never have, and I'm not going to start tonight. But if you don't think there's going to be denialism on the Dem side, you haven't been paying attention to what's been happening on that side for these years.
That part to start this video with Megyn Kelly and Bill Maher, I did do a video on that earlier. However, that will be coming up again later on this video, so make sure you guys stick around. But before we really get into this, let's go ahead and play some highlights from the weekend.
So I hope you'll forgive me if I'm a little frustrated that some of us are choosing to ignore Donald Trump's gross incompetence while asking Kamala to dazzle us at every turn. I hope that you'll forgive me if I'm a little angry that we are indifferent to his erratic behavior.
So we've obviously got the feminism narrative, which of course Michelle Obama has decided to go with. Okay, and then there is the whole notion that is, well, let's just call him fascist, as George Stephanopoulos did once again.
This out. In 2020, Republicans were only 33% of early voters. Now it is up to 40%. So in this big state with a big Latino population, a whole lot of union members, some warning signs, at least early on in early voting for Democrats, George.
And Rick, Generals John Kelly, Mark Milley have called Donald Trump a fascist. Kamala Harris agrees, and we have some polling on that.
That one right there is a special one. We'll get to that one here in a second. Or it could be the fact that these people don't want to take the responsibility for hoodwinking over 30,000 Americans in the city of Houston, making them think that it was a, let's just say, making them think that Beyonce was coming to their rally, which of course she did. However, they build this as a Beyonce concert.
That you saw Beyonce and Kelly Rowland walked out. Kelly looked like Beetlejuice, and then after that, Kamala walks out, right? She gives him the hug, and everybody's so mad because they're like, what? Beyonce only spoke for 3 minutes? I thought we were going to get a free concert. Wait, what? What's going on? Wait, why is she hugging Kamala? I thought this was a concert. Oh, and then Kelly and Beyonce have a nice little moment, reminiscing. And then everybody realizes it was a bait and switch, and they walked their butts out. As soon as Kamala got on that dang stage, everybody was pissed off, rightfully so. They duped us. They duped the entire city of Houston.
At her own rally.
Either way, the bait and switch, either way, the feminist narrative is not exactly going to work if these people lose. Also, not to mention the fact that let's just say that even certain church congregations that Kamala Harris has decided to show up to let's just go ahead and say this, they've decided to boo her as well.
As a nation, we face real challenges. We carry
How the fuck do you get booed at church? It's freaking church. That's literally the second time this woman got booed. And of course, she also got booed over the weekend as well. Now, I am playing that one right here for you guys in the B-roll footage. I'll play it for you guys again here in a second. But before I do so, I need to go ahead and say this. It's that time of the year where people start coming up with certain types of narratives and certain types of excuses for why it is that they lost. Now, the reason why I chose to wait before I played the clip of her getting booed this past weekend is because it's not so much the fact that people are booing, just look at how she responds.
We are fighting for America's future, and we understand the opportunity we have before us to turn the page on the fear
No response at all. All you have to do is maybe say something like, I understand your anger. I understand why you're frustrated. I understand why you feel the way you do about the situation in the Middle East, seeing how it is that it did in fact occur on their watch. That right there being Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, which is also knitted Donald Trump an endorsement of some Muslim leaders in the state of Michigan, which of course this where we'll probably have some carryover when it comes to states like, say, Minnesota, Pennsylvania. There's actually a pretty large Muslim population in the state of Georgia. There's actually a pretty large Muslim population here where I live at. And of course, instead of playing that clip for you guys, I think that me just putting that over the top in the B-roll footage is enough for you guys to see that, yeah, these people are starting to lose very, very key groups in very, very key states. And also going back to that Beyonce situation, I really love how it is that this woman decided to get up on stage and say that I'm a concerned mother, and then she turned right back around 2 seconds later and then said, but you should have the right to be able to murder your children. It also is funny as hell to me that this clip right here went viral because this right here is the left in a nutshell. Yes, that girl right there screaming at a small child. Come to find out that that particular girl was a Democratic Party operative in Houston, Texas. Campaign worker. And you wonder why it is that Kamala Harris is losing. Let me go ahead and say this right now. You can go ahead and go with all the narratives in the world. You can go ahead and do, just say whatever. Feminism, the racial narrative. They don't want to vote for a woman. They don't want to vote for a black woman, even though she's not black at all. You can say whatever the hell you want, but the biggest reason why it is that people are turning around and voting for Trump is because of the whole fascism narrative. Now, guys, really quick, I've said this on several occasions, that calling Donald Trump a fascist at this moment in time, at this very moment in time, when we've got rampant crime, we've got a border issue that Kamala Harris, of course, has completely left wide open. These are the type of issues that people, for the most part, do in fact care about. So they probably want a strong man in charge. So therefore, the fascism narrative is not exactly a narrative that actually works. Now, some people have theorized that the real reason why is they're going with the fascism narrative is because the media wants Donald Trump to win, so that way their ratings will improve. However, I want to go ahead and say this right now. If that is the case, then you're not going to be getting anything, because Trump's second term, while it would in fact be entertaining, and quite frankly, I would prefer Trump being back in office, there's this thing about this second term. The second term, for the most part, will be a term where he'll be focusing primarily on legislation and legislation alone. That is, of course, after the series of executive orders, and of course, it would be, for the most part, a reform term, which is something that America needs badly. Also, to go on top of that, I don't think he'll be talking to the press that much, because I think he's already got a successor in J.D. Vance to be the guy in 2028. You see, presidents oftentimes are restricted by their first term in office. The second term is where they really want to cement their legacy, which is funny because we'll be talking about legacy in video number 3. Yes, I've got 3 videos coming out, and don't worry, the video that I did at 11 o'clock will be out. It will be actually placed into the end cards of this video here, and it will be in the description box, as well as a link to my second channel. But still, the point is this right here. At this moment in time, the fascism thing just makes Trump look tougher. By the way, and we've already said this on multiple occasions, the man was in office 4 years before. He didn't do none of the crap these people claim that he's trying to enact. So, yeah, it is, at this point in time, it's just numbing people's brains. And quite frankly, people don't really care. However, there is one group of people who do, in fact, care about this narrative. That guy I've been talking about recently, Mark Halperin, he's a pollster. He does a lot of sessions with undecided voters. And of course, he's been doing these sessions more and more frequently. And he's been the guy who has been signaling that the election will, in fact, be called on election night, and he believes it will be for Donald Trump. No shenanigans or whatever will be able to overturn that or fix it. And what I mean by fix it is fix it the way they were the last time. But the point is this right here. Halperin, whom, by the way, and I've mentioned there before, he is the pollster that put out the poll showing Trump over Biden by about 4 points nationwide back in back in March. And, of course, Washington Post was who he was working for at the time. ABC News got pissed. They fired him and chose to go with Reuters Ipsos for the rest of the election cycle, who, by the way, has been basically publishing the same exact results every single poll. Harris +4 +5, which kind of tells me that, yeah, something is definitely up with their polls, especially given the fact that even the New York Times and even some left-leaning pollsters seem to have changed their methodology, and they have found some numbers that would scare the hell out of these people. But is that the thing that's turning off undecided voters? All this talk about Trump being a fascist. Well, let's listen to some of these undecided voters.
The vice president has started to talk about Donald Trump as a fascist, as someone who's spoken approvingly of Hitler. Raise your hand if you've heard about those comments. Okay. What do folks think? Is that something that's persuasive to you? Is that something that you'll factor into your vote? Linda?
To me, it's horrible that she's saying that about him. If he was saying that about her, everybody would be up in arms. I just don't think that's right to come in.
Thank you, sorry, Linda. What other folks think about what the vice president's saying, based on accounts of people who've worked with the President Trump? What do folks think about her making those charges and those characterizations?
She obviously thinks it's going to help her. I don't think it does at all. I don't know why, if it was Kelly who heard the president say that. I'm not saying he did or he didn't. I don't think he'd lie. I think you said that, Mark, on an episode. But I think that he had a responsibility to resign the day that was said, if that's true. I don't think that's the case.
Okay. What do other folks think?
Okay. But then you get this one right here that went viral.
I can't. I think part of the reason why I'm being pushed towards Trump so strongly is that I find that the Democrats and the left just keep going straight to Hitler all of the time with everything. And if it's not the left pushing Hitler, it's the right pushing Stalin. So it's like we're fighting World War II every single day for every single election. So it's so exhausting. I think it just it pushes me away from their position, and it's so hyperbolic that it makes it impossible to have good discussions. And I think it ruins the discourse.
Exactly. The discourse has been ruined. The well has been poisoned. Anytime you call your opposite a fascist or a Nazi right off the bat, that destroys any possibility of being able to work with somebody going forward. That's what the left in this country has done, mostly spearheaded by the mainstream media. Also, the constant interruptions, they don't allow you to talk, that type of stuff there. Not exactly what we call healthy. Also, something else, too, and I was listening to... I'll link the video in the description box. Tim Pool was reacting to a bit apparently with Jubilee where Ben Shapiro was debating like 25 different lefties, 25 different liberals, something like that. And he had this one particular individual that just kept interrupting him constantly and it was ridiculous how many times not only did he interrupt, but he damn near started yelling at Shapiro for pretty much no reason. Feminized men, the most dangerous men in the world. That's that type of stuff right there that people, quite frankly, have in fact gotten tired of. I mean, it's like what Van Jones said here recently on Bill Maher. These people have lost Elon Musk, of all people, whom Elon is being quite productive in recruiting, well, let's just say for MAGA voters and trying to win this election. But let's watch.
Did it, we would be in prison immediately. So the fact that there's no motion about it is sad. But what's really sad is...
Well, it's a Democratic government right now. What do you mean we would be in prison? Well, I mean, they're not arresting him.
Well, that's what I think him being the richest guy in the world might help him a little bit in terms of the stay out of jail card. But my only point is this. It's sad that we've lost Elon Musk. And I want to point out, 4 years ago, Elon Musk was an Andrew Yang Democrat.
Yeah.
Don't forget that.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I mean, he's done great stuff when it comes to climate, when it comes to space, et cetera. And
so was Trump, a Democrat. He was.
Yeah, he was. So, yeah. But I just wonder if we look back on this period, there's no excuse for stuff that Elon Musk is doing, the stuff he says, he's irresponsible. But if progressives have a politics that says, all white people are racist, all men are toxic, and all billionaires are evil, it's kind of hard to keep them on your side. And so we might want to think about, if you're chasing people out of the party, you can't be mad when they leave. And maybe if we had a different politics, we actually said dignity for everybody, everybody's respected, and we need you, more people might stay.
Now, guys, I'd be lying to you if I said that there was not more substance in that conversation that was not mentioned. You see, Elon's been going around with a petition to help protect the First and Second Amendment. And of course, it includes a raffle drawing where you actually win a cash prize. However, Jared Polis was also on that episode saying that Elon Musk was basically bribing people to go vote for Donald Trump and say they're not that enthusiastic about voting for him. Guys, I was just at a Trump rally in the town that I live in. You had 8,500 people inside the arena, and you had at least 30,000 more outside. And also something else too, it looks like over 75,000 were outside Madison Square Garden. Trust me, the enthusiasm to vote for Donald Trump is in fact there. However, we do need a little bit more enthusiasm when it comes to protecting our First and Second Amendment, which of course Elon has finally decided to tap into because he realizes exactly how important those two amendments are. And it's only going to be more important if Harris is to get elected, but we may save that right there for the day before Election Day when I try to do some type of a rah-rah video. But going back to the very beginning of this video, the first clip that I showed you guys of Megyn Kelly basically saying that the election denial will be ridiculous. Well, let me go ahead and tell you how this is going to go. They've already started out with narratives. Nobody wants to vote for a woman, which, by the way, they tell us all the time that Harris is improving with women. I personally don't believe she is. If you look at the actual polling numbers, it's possible that she's getting a much, much larger piece of the pie of a much, much smaller number, but men are coming out and voting in much, much higher numbers, and we all know they carry their wives with them to vote, which means that their wives only vote with them. So, yeah, Trump will definitely improve with women overall, regardless of what the media tries to tell you. But the point is this right here. They're already starting with the feminism narrative. They're already starting with the racial narrative, which, of course, this right here will continue more and more and more. You've got the Harris team saying they don't want to campaign with Biden. You've got the Biden team at war with the Harris team. It looks like a complete, total crap show. And, of course, they've already started the blame game. And it's only going to get much, much worse over the next couple of days. However, election denial is something that, quite frankly, will still, in fact, exist. Let me talk about that for a second to close this video. There's only maybe 3 times in my lifetime, well, actually, really, it's only been once because I was only 3 years old when George Herbert Walker Bush won in 1988. Of course, he lost in 1992. But anytime the Republican has won, there's always been a massive amount of election denialism. Back in 2000, that election there, and I'm not saying this to defend Bush or anything, but it's the actual, honest to God's truth. And they tell you that the Supreme Court decided that election. They're actually being a little bit dishonest when they do so. Let me explain what I mean. In 2000, we had this issue in Florida, the hanging chads, all that type of crap there. The fact that the election was called at 10 o'clock at night before the panhandle votes came in for Al Gore, and then later on they undid that call, and then they called it for Bush a little bit later on in the evening, and Bush was crowned the winner. And of course, Al Gore conceded, and then he came out and said he was not going to concede, and then next thing you know, you have a bunch of recounts. They tell you that Ralph Nader costed Al Gore the election, yet they fail to mention that Pat Buchanan was running on the same exact ticket opposite George W. Bush and took votes away from him. You see where I'm going with this? A lot of hypocrisy. Also something else too. In every single recount, which, by the way, the Democrats stupidly only asked for like 3 counties, the main one being Broward County. In every single recount, Bush still led, and in some cases even gained votes. What happened was that the Supreme Court Justice of the United States, William Rehnquist, got sick and tired of the crap show and said it's about time we crown a winner. We've had several recounts here, and guess what? Every single recount has had pretty much the exact same result. George W. Bush won the state of Florida. However, going into the next election, or going into, we'll talk about 2004 in a second, but going into Inauguration Day, or going into 1/6, to certify the election, Sheila Jackson Lee, who was in Congress, several other Democrat congressmen still objected to the result. These people don't care. They're going to object regardless. The same culprits are doing it again, or they did it again in 2004, and the same culprits also did it in 2016. Democrats have got a history of this, but of course they'll mention MUH 2020 and MUH 1/6. However, as far as the election denialism is concerned, yes, there are Democrats right now saying that they will not certify the results of the election should Trump win. So, yeah, we're going to see election denialism regardless of whatever the narratives are. With that right there in mind, though, this will be video number 2 of the day tomorrow. Make sure you guys please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video. In my 5 o'clock video, 6 o'clock video, we'll be talking about how it is that you ruin your legacy, Greg Popovich style. So make sure you guys stick around for that. Still, though, please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign off in the comments, and I'll see you guys later.